Before we begin, take just a moment to subscribe to the channel. This is where stories live a little longer than the screen does, where emotions don't rush, where quiet moments matter, and where real human experiences unfold slowly, honestly, cinematically. If you're ready, let's step into tonight's story. Because I was never meant to be there that night. Not on that couch. Not in that softly lit room, glowing under the weak, trembling light of a single floor lamp. Not breathing in air that felt heavier with every second. I wasn't meant to be in a moment that would quietly, but permanently, change the direction of my life. But life doesn't ask for permission. It nudges you gently at first, then insistently, until suddenly you find yourself standing in the very place you promised you'd never return to. It bends your rules, laughs at your careful plans, and rearranges everything you thought was solid without ever making a sound. For a long time, I believed my life was predictable in the best way. Not boring, not dull, just steady. It was the kind of stability you don't notice until it's gone. The kind built on shared routines, familiar laughter, and a love that felt dependable, anchored. I believed that when you gave someone your heart, it stayed where you placed it, safe, protected, unmoved. No one warns you that love doesn't always end in explosions. Sometimes it doesn't collapse at all. Sometimes it just fades quietly, softly, so gently that you don't realize it's slipping away until the silence grows louder than your own heartbeat. When it finally ended, there were no raised voices. No emotional release that movies prepare you for. Just a note left on the refrigerator, short, unevenly written, almost careless in how empty it felt. Beside it sat a key, our key, placed with such careful precision that it felt deliberate, surgical. The faint kitchen light reflected off the cold metal, and for a brief, unbearable second, it felt like the key itself was mocking me. I stared at it longer than I should have, wondering how something so small could split a person open so completely. When I finally picked it up, my hand trembled. I held it too tightly, pressing the sharp grooves into my skin until it stung. But the pain didn't come from the metal. It came from the truth that arrived with it. I had been left behind. The apartment, once familiar, once warm, felt suddenly hollow. The air felt thick, heavy, as if it had weight. Even the smallest sounds turned against me. The ticking clock, the low hum of the refrigerator, the distant traffic outside. They didn't comfort me, they reminded me. I couldn't stay there. Not another second. My breathing grew shallow, uneven. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. My heart felt too large for my chest, like it didn't belong inside me anymore. So, I did the only thing I could think to do. I called the one person who always knew what I was feeling, even when I pretended I didn't. My best friend. She didn't ask questions, didn't demand explanations. Her voice was calm, grounded, certain, the kind of certainty you don't have to earn. "Pack a bag," she said gently. "You're staying here tonight." And just like that, she gave me a way out. Her apartment sat near the edge of the city. A quiet building surrounded by tall trees that leaned close to the windows like silent guardians. The kind of place where the walls creak softly when the wind shifts. Where everything smells faintly of rain and clean fabric. The moment I stepped inside, something in me loosened, not healed, not fixed, just less tight. Sunlight poured through tall windows, stretching long shapes across the wooden floor. The glow tried its best to warm the heaviness I had brought with me. She hugged me tightly. Not the kind of hug meant to fix anything. The kind meant to remind you that you don't have to fall apart alone. Then she said something that didn't register until later. "You'll have the apartment to yourself for a few days. My older brother's out of town." I remembered him vaguely, quiet, reserved, always seeming like his thoughts lived somewhere far away. The type of man who didn't speak often, but when he did, every word felt intentional. Knowing he wouldn't be there felt like relief. I didn't want company. I didn't want conversation. I wanted silence big enough to disappear inside. The first 2 days passed like blurred shadows. I moved through the apartment like someone misplaced in their own body. Coffee went cold before I tasted it. Food sat untouched. Time passed without meaning. The world outside the window felt distant, like it was happening to someone else. Every time I caught my reflection in the glass, it startled me. Hollow eyes, slouched shoulders, a quiet ache humming beneath the surface. Life kept moving forward. I didn't. Then came the third night. The night everything shifted. I was in the kitchen pouring water when the front door creaked open. Not loudly, not urgently, just a slow, steady sound, followed by soft, measured footsteps. My heart stalled. A cold rush moved through me. I wasn't expecting anyone. He wasn't supposed to be home yet. But then he appeared, her older brother. Only not the version I remembered. This was a man shaped by storms I couldn't see. A man who carried silence differently, not as emptiness, but as depth. The kind of quiet that comes from surviving things you never talk about. A few strands of gray threaded through his dark hair. His presence was calm, grounded, unshakable. He paused when he saw me. Not surprised, just quietly curious. "Didn't know you were staying," he said. His voice was low, textured. "I didn't plan to," I replied softly. Our eyes met, and something unspoken passed between us. Not attraction, not familiarity, recognition. Two people fractured by life, standing in the same room, pretending not to notice the weight they carried. He nodded once, set his bag down, and disappeared into the back room. But the silence he left behind wasn't the same. It felt awake, charged, alive in a way I couldn't explain. That night, sleep came in fragments. Not rest, just drifting. I lay still in the guest room, staring at the ceiling as shadows stretched and shifted with every passing car outside. The apartment had settled into its nighttime rhythm. The kind of quiet that isn't empty but observant, like it's watching you breathe. Somewhere down the hallway, I heard him move. Soft footsteps, the gentle creak of old floorboards, the muted click of a door closing. Each sound pulled at something inside me I didn't yet have words for. I told myself it meant nothing. That I was exhausted, emotionally raw, still bleeding from something I hadn't finished mourning. But deep down, another voice whispered a truth I wasn't ready to face. People don't re-enter your life by accident. Especially when you're broken enough to feel everything more sharply than you should. Morning came quietly. No alarm. No urgency. Just pale light slipping through the curtains, touching the edges of the room like it was unsure whether it belonged there. I stayed in bed longer than usual listening. The apartment was awake. A cupboard opened. A kettle filled. The low hum of movement carried through the walls. When I finally stepped into the living room, he was already there, standing near the counter, wearing a plain t-shirt and relaxed joggers. Nothing dramatic, nothing deliberate. Yet, somehow he looked put together in a way that didn't ask for attention, but earned it anyway. Our eyes met. He gave a small nod, not a smile, not a greeting, just acknowledgement. The kind that says, I see you, even if you're unraveling quietly. Something subtle shifted inside me then. Not hope, not excitement, just presence. The days that followed moved slowly, like fog drifting through the apartment. We orbited each other with careful distance, not avoidance, not closeness, something in between. A quiet thank you when passing a mug. A shared glance across the room that didn't linger too long. A half-smile exchanged over morning coffee. We never spoke about why I was there. He never asked, and I never offered. There was something respectful in that silence, something kind. At night, we watched television without really watching it. Old films, muted colors, stories we both pretended not to care about. Sometimes our shoulders brushed briefly. Accidentally. Neither of us moved away too quickly, but neither of us leaned in. Not yet. One evening, the air inside the apartment felt heavier than usual, thick, the kind of atmosphere that makes it hard to breathe, even when nothing is technically wrong. So, I stepped outside. The night greeted me with crisp air and distant city noise. Streetlights flickered like tired stars. Leaves skittered across the pavement, chasing shadows only lonely people notice. By the time I returned, something had changed. The apartment felt warmer. Golden light spilled from the kitchen. The scent of herbs and something rich simmering filled the space. He was on the couch now, reclined, comfortable. One ankle crossed casually over the other. The television cast a soft glow across his face. An old romantic film played, the kind everyone claims they don't like, but somehow remembers every line from. You watch this often? I asked quietly. He glanced at me, the corner of his mouth lifting just slightly. Only when I'm feeling down, he said. It caught me off guard. I laughed, a real laugh, one that surprised me with how easily it came. 2 untouched glasses of wine sat on the table. He didn't offer. I didn't ask. I just sat down beside him, leaving just enough space to pretend the moment was harmless. But it wasn't. Not anymore. When the actress on screen whispered her iconic line, I'm just a girl standing in front of a boy, asking him to love her, he looked at me, only for a second, only for a heartbeat. But it was long enough. Long enough for something inside me to shift, long enough for silence to stop being empty. Days turned into weeks. The apartment found a rhythm, a shared heartbeat. Morning coffee at opposite ends of the counter. Evening meals eaten quietly together. Late nights filled with half-conversations and unfinished thoughts. Still, nothing crossed the line until one night when everything did. I couldn't sleep. The digital clock glowed blue in the darkness. 2:47 a.m. The apartment felt too still, too quiet. I slipped out of bed barefoot, wrapped in an oversized shirt that wasn't mine. When I reached the living room, I saw him sitting in the half-dark. His phone cast soft light across his face, highlighting the calm lines of it. Grounded. Present. The kind of presence that steadies you just by existing. Can't sleep, he asked without looking up. I shook my head. He set his phone aside gently. Then he did something I didn't expect. He patted the empty space beside him, a simple gesture, a quiet invitation. I hesitated only a moment before sitting down. We didn't speak. The silence settled between us like a blanket. Not heavy, not empty, just there. Our breathing slowly synced. Outside, the city murmured softly. Then he spoke. Do you miss him? The question landed deeper than I expected. I don't know, I whispered. Sometimes I think maybe I never really had him at all. He turned slightly, studying my face. There was no pity in his expression. No judgment, only truth. Maybe it's good he's gone, he said quietly. And somehow, that honesty hurt more than comfort ever could. I looked at him, really looked, and for the first time since everything ended, I didn't feel alone.